Under normal circumstances, that would be the big story today, but the big story is concerned the St Kilda schoolgirl and Ricky Nixon. And it came on the back of a statement that she released that we have in our possession, as I showed you off the top of the show. That's the signatures there, and we can read it to you right now. My name is Kim Duthie. We don't need to know where she resides. During March 2011, I was interviewed by David Galbilly on behalf of the AFLPA as part of an investigation into player agent Ricky Nixon. I wish to state that statements I made to David Galbilly when interviewed in relation to sex and drugs with Ricky Nixon were completely untrue. I apologise, however, at the time I was under the influence of drugs and not in a fit state of mind, nor did I know what I was saying. I signed this statement knowing it to be true and accurate. Not sure, in fact I'm certain it doesn't answer all the questions, it probably raises more. And a man that might be able to help us out with those is a man who's found himself in the middle of all of this. Please welcome to the Footy Show, Ricky Nixon.
Hello, mate. Take your seat. I think you're sitting there.
Rick, welcome.
Thanks, Gary.
An unbelievable day. You would have known that statement was coming, I would imagine. Would have given you some sort of sense of vindication since you recanted statements about having had sex with you and taken drugs with you. What is that sense like right now, that sense of vindication?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have asked me today if I do feel that way. I actually don't. I feel that it's been a terrible 4 months for not just me, but a lot of people. I think when something goes wrong of this calibre, we all look at the pyramid effect, and you're at the top of the pyramid, and underneath it are, everyone associated with your family, friends, in this case, footy clubs, competition, etc. I mean, I've seen him dragged into it in the last 48 hours where, unfortunately, these days, people make up their mind about a story right from the start, and no matter what you say, it's very hard to change their mind because they want to believe what they want to believe, and I've probably had to learn to live with that some people's opinions won't change.
We've got a bit to get through, so I'll start and then we'll just throw it open to the boys here. If we're to accept now that there was no sex and there were no drugs involved, in your own words you did admit to inappropriate dealings with Kim Duthie. Now, can you tell us now what were those inappropriate dealings? Yeah,
well, when I made that statement, Gary, I think I should make it clear that I was faced with a video that I'd never seen. I was in absolute shock at what I was seeing. I didn't know what it was about or what had happened. I was shown that late on a Friday night, just prior to, I think, a NAB Cup game in my offices at Etihad Stadium by the Herald Sun. An agreement was struck at the time for me to use the words inappropriate dealings if I had my time again. I shouldn't have been foolish enough to think that that video would never have been shown. I think I should have just let it be shown, let people make a judgment. I shouldn't have used the words inappropriate dealings. I certainly didn't refer to me providing alcohol or anything to this girl of any nature or any other substances, etc. So all these things are easy to talk about 4 months later, but I defy anyone to be put under the pressure I was in that office that night.
Ricky, your defenders, and you've had plenty of them because you built up a lot of goodwill in this industry over a long period of time, defend you up to the point where you're asked the question about why you were in this girl's hotel room in your underwear. And at that point, it seems to me from the questions, from the articles that I've read, that you don't have an answer for that. And at that point, it makes it pretty hard for your defenders to defend you any further.
My first answer would be I need to get new underwear. Just looking at the picture, I would have thought, James. But look, it's not defendable. It's as simple as that. I know I've been very consistent from the start that I don't know what happened that night. There has been some explanations of late by somebody who seems to be in the know, who called themselves Kim's best friend. I suspect it might be Kim herself, that said that I was administered 2.5 millilitres of GBH, whatever that is. Apparently it's some form of drug where you lose your inhibitions, etc., etc., and to give some explanation as to what I'm doing on the bed. I wish I knew what I was doing on the bed. I wish someone would provide me with some evidence to support either sex or drugs, because at least I could clear my mind and my conscience and move on. But at the moment, that hasn't happened. If anyone invites you or entraps you to come to a hotel room to show the world that you've had sex with them, and they've got a video camera running that shows you on the bed dancing around in your underpants, surely there must be some footage of me having sex.
But Rick, if you can't recall anything that happened that night, I mean, the video was on the bed. I mean, there are other places that you could have had sex with that girl that wouldn't have been captured on the video. Now, if you can't recall what happened that night, how do you know that you didn't have sex with her?
Well, look, Gary, you tell me it could have happened in the cupboard perhaps. She didn't have a camera in there, who knows? I mean, all I know is what I see, and what I see is a video that Kim has said in the Galbally report was fake, and I think people have glossed over that. And by fake, I assume she means it was put together and edited over different time periods or whatever else. It's certainly not a continuous video that just shows the events of 20 minutes. It doesn't show me taking drugs. It infers that I am. It doesn't show me having sex. It infers that I do. It actually shows me moving towards a bed. It looks like I go to get into bed. However, this statement by this particular person on Twitter recently, who seemed to be in the room that night, actually said that I dive on the bed, and I say, no, what have you given me? What have you put in me? And you would know, if you watched the 7 p.m. project tonight, that Kim actually said that I accidentally swallowed a glass of GBH. Now, I find that hard to believe that someone like myself, who wouldn't even know what GBH is, that I would accidentally swallow it.
Well, let's talk about the 7 p.m. project, because this was a twist, if you like. Kim Duthie did a pre-recorded interview where she backed up the statement that was, or the story that was in the paper today, where she recanted the allegations that she'd had sex and drugs with you, which I guess at that stage was further vindication for you. Now, the real interest and the twist in all of this came when the interview was over and the cameras kept rolling. We're going to play this to you, and I want your reaction to this.
Excellent.
That was
so hard.
You know what, for us though, that's...
No, you did it well.
You know.
That's riveting TV though.
You know, I can tell already that you know.
It's riveting
That everything
TV.
I just said I lied about.
Yeah. But I think that comes across. Why is it?
Really? Let's do it again.
You know, but let's, you know.
So,
You know what's interesting is that Kim has already reported on Twitter that what they cut off at the end there was she said, I'm joking. Seriously, I'm joking. Now, we all know how people can edit up things to make them look like they do. They can actually edit up fake videos to make it look like you've had sex, apparently, Gary. But, you know, take it for what it's worth.
Well,
did anyone really watch that and not cringe with the way that they actually interviewed a 17-year-old girl and paid her money tonight and put her under that sort of pressure? I mean, the time's come when this girl seriously needs to move on. She needs to get some help. We've all got to get off the case. I'm sick of it. I'm sure everyone here tonight's sick of it. I shouldn't have to justify anything. Everyone should move on. Can I just add this, Gary?
Yep.
Kim undertook a lie detector test, which has been reported in today's paper that she passed with flying colours. Would it surprise people here if I told you that, number one, she was given the questions before the lie detector test? Now, it's very easy to pass a lie detector test when you're given the questions beforehand because you prepare yourself for the answers. She was also allowed to go and take a nap halfway through the lie detector test to calm herself down and take something to calm herself down. So is that a real lie detector test or is that a gimmick for a TV station?
well, I don't know, Rick. And I suppose in the end, there's so much lying being done and so much misinformation that lie detector test in the end is probably the only credible source that we can go to. Now, I don't understand it, but this is an FBI-trained person that goes through it. Now,
that same company that ran the lie detector test was, I believe, the girl who was in the street today who was pushed over by Kim aggressively. Why would that be, Gary?
Got some vision of that all happening here. Ricky, I guess the problem... Oh, there we go. Might have been on the television earlier tonight. I guess one of the problems I reckon you've got at the moment is almost no one believes much that the girl says, but I don't reckon too many people are believing what you're saying either.
Look, I'll see it this way, James. When I was in grade 4, an awful smell went through the classroom. And a student turned to me and he said, "Did you just fart?" And I slightly turned red. He said, "I knew it was you." And that's where it's got to. It doesn't matter what I say. I didn't do it, I did do it, he's lying, she's not lying. I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, I was in a hotel room in my underpants. I'm embarrassed, I'm sorry for it, but I can tell you one thing. Everything that's happened through this period, at once did I drop the ball with my players when I managed them. I've done the best job I possibly can for them over 20 years, and that's what my job was to do. It's not the way I wanted to end my career, but I have to live with it, and I hope everyone takes this as time to move on.
Well, I think we will at the end of it. We've got to put some more things to you. People would say that you and her are still in cahoots, that you're still in contact, that you still talk, that you put her up to it. The 60 Minutes interview on the 6th of March, there was an email that was from Kim Duthie, amongst other things from you. It says, I want you to clear the air about what happened in my hotel room. You can do it in a press statement that I can write for you and get it out to all the media outlets.
Yep.
And that's essentially what's happened here with this press statement here. Now, did you put her up to this? Have you been talking to her on a regular basis?
I'll tell you what happened, Gary. I was in London and was bombarded with text messages from her saying that she needed to speak to me, that she wanted to make a statement and set the record straight. She sent me one. I didn't respond to any of them. She then rang me and left a voicemail message saying that she was going to do a press release on the Monday and that could I help her with the wording of the email, which I sent that email to her. At the time, 60 Minutes was taping the conversation, unbeknown to me, which is a setup, which is illegal in Australia. Unbeknown to 60 Minutes, Kim actually went and told a policewoman that that had happened as well. Now, I find that disgusting that that was happening by media outlets in Australia with a 17-year-old girl setting people up deliberately to fall. If you don't think I've fallen enough or taken enough kicks in the head in the last 4 months, well, I'll tell you what, I can take a few more if you want to keep going, but it's getting to a point where it's bordering on the ridiculous. I mean, when you turn to an innocent bloke like Sam and start purporting that you met with him and slept with him and everything else with him, I see this as the statement that Kim has put. It doesn't matter if you believe it, or James believes it, or not. It's a significant point in her life where she's actually taken responsibility for what she said, and she's apologised to me, and you don't need to know that or necessarily how it was done, but she needs to move on.
But she hasn't, Rick. She just went on the 7 PM project a matter of hours later and declared that it was a lie.
Well, as I said, she just tweeted that she said after that she was joking, and that hasn't been shown, Gary. I mean, we can spend hours going through this
yes, we can.
ad nauseum, and I've got 875 answers. Some work, some don't, some are funny. But I'll tell you what, they're sick of it. The people out there are sick of it, and so am I.
I haven't asked any questions, only because you're covering everything I would ask, and I'm not asking questions because I'm on his side necessarily.
Yep.
But there's just about nothing more you can ask. We can have all our doubts, but in the end, I mean, what is the point of those letters and what's the point of anything? The only thing I'll say is that the AFL Players Association, as I understand it, have said that that is irrelevant, that letter. They didn't find you guilty or sack you or do whatever they did, strike you off their register because of that. They struck you off the register because of the inappropriate dealings. Do you think that is a valid reason for you to be kicked off to lose your business, and are you going to still take on the AFLPA?
I'll answer the second part first. Absolutely. It was a witch hunt. It was an amateur investigation. It must be the only investigation in the world where the person who got investigated didn't speak to the people who investigated him. Anyone with any common sense in the world would know there's such a thing as called natural justice, where you have to at least get your point of view across and be able to answer things. Now, that was done in a 2-week period. I was told in no uncertain terms if I didn't answer them by the Thursday night, which happened to be the first game of the year, coincidentally, when I'm sure the AFL and the AFLPA would love to have gotten it off the front page of the newspaper. They don't care about if it affects people's lives. I was under a medical condition in the Adelaide Hills, which they knew about, and I was returning to Melbourne on the Monday, yet after 11 years of being a player and 20 years of setting up an industry in the Players Association, they didn't allow me 4 days to come back and respond to them.
Rick, why didn't you appeal? Why didn't you appeal the fine?
Because I really felt in the end it was just a total witch hunt, that they were never going to find it any other way than the way that they did, because they've shown, the AFLPA over the last 6 months with their negotiations with the collective bargaining agreement, they represent the players as possibly the most amateurish organisation that gets $11 million a year for funding, $11 million which is supposed to go into health and welfare of past and present players. I'm a member of the Players Association. No one would know this up until tonight. Not one phone call from them, not one. Yet if he breaks his leg tomorrow in a car accident, he would get a phone call to say, as a past player, is there anything we can do to assist you, etc., etc. No assistance been offered to me whatsoever.
OK, well, that's one point. David Galbally, though, is a respected QC who's not aligned to the AFL Players Association. So he was the one that was responsible for the finding.
I see it this way, Gary. Anybody who's in a position that he's in, who has to conduct, I think I've seen him at his 5th press conference or press, whatever you want to call it, statement. Why do you have to justify your findings and investigations? Surely, whatever they are, they are. You don't have to get on the media and grandstand and actually give evidence as to why you did something. Anyone who had some credibility in the industry would just shut up.
Do you have any compassion for the players that you managed? Nick Riewoldt was embroiled in this, Nick Del Santo, I'm not sure if you managed Zach Dawson.
Yep.
Do you manage Zach?
No.
Sam Gilbert, was the other one. So they'd be sitting at home tonight, they'd be watching. What do you say to those guys when you found yourself embroiled in this mess?
Oh, I think it's been a terrible situation for everybody involved, from Sam at the start to the two Nicks. They're probably lucky I took the focus off them in some respects, but, you know, this clearly affected them. It's affected the football club. It's affected their supporters. You know, you wouldn't want to be Kim Duthie walking to a St Kilda game, I wouldn't have thought just at the minute.
Were those boys that you managed bemused by the fact that you took up with Kim Duthie, for whatever reason, after they had just extricated themselves from her?
I wouldn't say that, Sam, but, you know, I think the way Nick Riewoldt's conducted himself in particular and stayed in silence, because he knows whatever he says will be the next headline, whether it's about me personally or his management or his involvement with her. I think for him to conduct himself the way he has, I only but admire him. It hasn't been easy for me, because when you're suffering, what you do want to hear from people that you do have as friends, etc., and it hasn't been easy for me to have that silence.
Now, what sort of relationship do you have with young Kim at the minute? Any, or fleeting, or do we chat on a regular basis, or how's all that going?
Yeah, we're hoping to get her into politics, Sam. She might run for the next election, I think, better than Julia Gillard. I just thought I'd get behind her. I haven't got a job at the moment, so we might just get out there and promote her.
Do you speak to her? Do you forgive her? Do you like her? Do you resent her?
I think that with Kim...
Pick one of those answers.
All right, I'll give you an honest answer. I think she's a kid who's made a lot of mistakes. It's brave to come out and make a statement like she has. I don't think she's any dill. I think she's got off track in the last 12 months. It's not my responsibility to get her back on track, but she has an opportunity. People will give most people a second chance, and I'm saying to everyone tonight, give her a second chance, but give everyone the chance to move on, because we're sick of it.
Do you talk to her? Just when's the last time?
I haven't spoken to her.
When's the last time you spoke to her?
I've spoken to her in the last 3 months. I was aware of the statement last week that she was going to make, but I guess I took it that I've heard it all before. So I have spoken to her in the last week and said along the lines of, well, you probably deserve to get a second chance. I'll just wait and see. Good luck.
What about your own reputation, Rick? Depending on who you speak to, people tell you that you're addicted to drugs, that your life's spiralled out of control, that you are a compulsive liar, that, I mean, there are hundreds of rumours flying around about a bloke who pioneered his industry and was seen by many as you know, a pioneer and an upstanding member of the AFL community.
Yeah, we like to talk about negatives, don't we? We don't say he pioneered the industry, he did great work for 20 years.
No, exactly.
He actually revived a dead bloke on Saturday in Port Melbourne, but we don't want to hear about that, because it's not what people want to hear. We just want to hear you say you had sex with her and you're a drug addict and you administer drugs into her and she's an innocent girl, because that's what we want to hear. It's a good story.
Before we let you go, what's next for you now? Where do you go? You want to stay in footy, or what do you want to do?
Fair to say, Gary, I've got no interest whatsoever in being involved in footy. I've been in it for 30 years. You know, this has left a pretty sour taste in my mouth, and you know, I'll move on and find something new to do, and yeah, we'll move on.
Well, now look, just before we finish this, I don't know what people watching this or you people there would expect us. I don't know we could ask this man any more questions about this incident, unless something comes up tomorrow which throws a whole new light on it. There's nothing more, I don't think, unless someone would like to shout out a question that we've missed. You can't ask, you've got to take on face value what Ricky Nixon says. You can decide whether you believe it or not, but I tell you, as a job of you, Gary, and us asking Rick about his life and what's going on. I'm not sure we can ask him anything else. And what's the point of asking anything else?
We don't plan to, but we do appreciate you coming in, Ricky, and facing the music. It's not easy to do, and you've done it well tonight. Thank you very much.